Hello. How is it going, everyone? Welcome back to Creator Hacks. Appreciate your patience there. We had some issues with Meta, Facebook not broadcasting the way it wanted to. So we are just going to roll with it here on YouTube. And for those that, prefer to watch us on Facebook, we will upload the recording there after the fact. But welcome, everyone. We have myself, Tyler, and the lovely Paulina here once again for another Creator Hacks. This is actually the last creator hack of the holiday season of the year. So it's going to be a good one. I'm really excited about this. We are going to be talking all about how to eliminate overwhelm for your members as well as for yourself as a creator. And we're going to be addressing the number one reason why members leave your digital courses or memberships or programs, and more importantly, how to stop it, how to prevent it. And yeah, so we're going to be diving into the slides here. We'll jump right in. And we've got a few things to go over. Just give us 1 second here. There we are. Perfect. So, as we talked about, we've got eliminate overwhelm with powerful search. That's going to be one of the main topics we are discussing here today. And again, we've got the two of us here. I'm coming at this from the marketing side. Paulina is here from the customer success team to give you, the both of the perspectives there. Let me just quickly. There we go. So we have a few things that we're going to be covering here. So number one being why clarity wins. Then we're going to jump into, membership.io and, some of the benefits and advantages of this platform for engagement and retention. And then ultimately, we are going to be diving into the how to and walking you through the practical steps to apply these features to reduce overwhelm in your programs. So, how to create clarity. Let's get into it. So there's three primary elements when it comes to creating clarity for your digital course offerings, for your membership. And it all essentially comes down to advanced search functionalities, offering content in multiple media formats, and making use of AI powered tools such as custom chatbots, summarized responses, and things like that. So these are the things we are going to be diving into today and going through. So why clarity wins. Here are some of the benefits at a glance. Just thinking of it at a high level, sort of top of mind thing here. So if people have the ability to find what they're looking for quicker and easier, that increased speed and simplicity in your programs is going to lead to higher content consumption from your members. And offering your content in multiple media formats allows people to learn in multiple modes, which again leads to better overall content retention for your members. So if if your members are consuming more of the content, it's easier for them to consume the content, and they're retaining the actual information, the value that you're providing to them better. Then that higher content consumption is going to not only lead to greater perceived value for your members, but it's actually going to lead to greater overall impact that you're actually able to produce for your members, real tangible results. If they're consuming more of the content, if they're more engaged with it, if they're, learning and understanding it better, then they're going to get better results from applying it. And then as we jump into the benefits of sort of the AI tools and some of the features that you can make use of, this leads to easier distribution for you as the creator and easier engagement and higher levels of engagement for your members, which all of these things ultimately lead to a better overall member experience. And if you've got a better experience, that means you're going to have happy long-term members in your membership. So you're going to retain them longer as well. So with all that being said, those things are nice, having those sort of, uh, top of mind sort of logical reasonings why this is better, but you might be someone like myself and want to see, some actual examples, some detail to this and, why those things are as we say they are. So show me the stats. So Here's a little bit of some stats on multiple formats and user preferences and how that can benefit your members and ultimately lead to a better experience for your members and just a better overall program offering. So delivering content in multiple formats caters to different learning preferences, which again leads to increased content retention and comprehension. So here's a little stat from HubSpot 2023. It says 85% of people prefer consuming video content, but 72% also like accessing written materials for detailed reference. So people, prefer on average to watch a video to learn something, right? But then if they want to go back and review it or, make notes on it or study it, most of those people still like to have that text-based format. So if you only have video or you only have text, you're missing out on a huge chunk of your audience that really wants to and will benefit from having both. And we'll talk about how to accomplish this the easiest way as we get further into the presentation here. Another stat here is that reach increased by 30% by repurposing videos into blogs or audio. And when it came to actual sales conversions as well, mixed format sales pages, so things that have videos and images and text, converted 60% better than text only. So that is a quite a huge increase in conversion rates just by simply applying multiple media formats to the sales page itself. Next, we have Overwhelm and membership retention. Let me just pull this one thing up here. So, there we are. Sorry about that. So Overwhelm and membership retention. So offering content in, multiple formats, this helps to reduce your cognitive overload for your members. And it also allows people to, have the choice to consume the content how they want to, where they want to. If you think about if you're, perhaps you're on the road, you don't have the ability necessarily to sit there and watch a video. But if you have the way to listen to the content through an audio format, like a podcast or a recording, that's something that you can do while you're multitasking, while you're driving, while you're doing other things. You can still consume the content and get the value from that without having to, watch a video. Or perhaps if you're in, a quiet environment and you're still wanting to go through the content and learn from it and that sort of thing. That's where text-based content can really be king, right? Like if you're in a really busy public area or whatever, and you maybe can't hear very well, or you don't want to disturb people around you, if you have the content available in text, that's going to make that a much more enjoyable experience and make it much more likely that you're actually going to consume that content as a member. Make sense? So, another thing here said in a 2022 survey mentioned that overwhelm is the number one reason that members drop out of online programs, with 56% citing lack of time to consume the content. So, if you are a creator or if you're a member of one and you've ever heard or expressed yourself that, oh, there's so much content here. I really want to go through it all, but I don't have the time, right? Like I want to be able to go through it, but I don't have the time. By providing your content in multiple media formats, like we talked about, that helps to eliminate that issue and helps to allow people to consume your content much more easily, in different environments, in different locations, all that sort of stuff. So another thing here from Harvard's online learning study said that incorporating text, audio, and video resources boosted learning engagement by 32% amongst part-time learners. So if this is something that, Harvard has seen a big benefit in people's learning and their retention of the content, then I think it's something that we could pay attention to and benefit from in your programs, in your offerings as well. Okay. And then we have content completion and engagement. So course creators found that adding downloadable audio and text versions of their video lessons increased course completion rates by 24%. So again, this is just reinforcing the idea that you should have your content available in multiple formats. Creators on Patreon found that offering exclusive podcast audio alongside their visual content retained 30% more subscribers over a 6-month period. So not only are people increasing the completion rates of going through the content, they're sticking around a lot longer as well. And then websites that utilize AI-powered search capabilities experience a 30% increase in user engagement as well. So those are some of the stats. Those are some of the numbers that sort of support the ideas that we talked about here. But you might also be wondering, what are some real world examples that showcase, the benefits of improving your search, making your content more accessible, available in multiple formats, all of those sort of things. So I put together a few examples from some notable companies that you've very likely heard of before. The first here is the New York Times. Okay, so they enhanced their search function on their site. They implemented an advanced search algorithm to improve discoverability across its massive archive of tens of thousands of articles, right? And this resulted in a 60% increase in article views from search queries, which indicated that it improved users' access to relevant content. So the fact that people were able to find what they were looking for when they wanted it increased the amount of time they actually spent on the site, the amount of articles that they actually viewed. And this is something that would be a great thing to incorporate into your own programs, into your own offerings to, see the same sort of benefits, right? And we'll be discussing exactly how you can do that in just a few minutes here. The next one we have is talking about offering content in multiple formats, right? And so this is from Coursera, which is a company that partners with, educators, and like universities and things like that to teach a variety of skills and offer online degrees and things of that nature. But they provide their course materials in various formats, including video lectures, audio recordings, and text transcripts, catering to people's diverse learning preferences. And they found that offering these multiple formats for their materials saw a 22% higher completion rate compared to those with a single format. So again, we had, course creators on another platform saw up to 24% increase in the amount of content that their members consumed. And Coursera here, being a larger corporation, also saw, 22% higher consumption rates of their content just by offering multiple media formats for it. And then we have Spotify. So I'm sure most of you are familiar with Spotify. So they use AI algorithms to curate personalized playlists, and something such as like the Discover Weekly, or they have a variety of playlists that they kind of tailor to your individual user preferences based off of what you've listened to before, what you've maybe liked or saved into a playlist, and all of these sort of advanced things. And then their AI sort of goes through, calculates all of that, and then offers you a tailored playlist based on your preferences. And this actually led to a 31% increase in user engagement, with users, again, spending more time on the platform and actually exploring a broader range of music. So with them being able to curate these playlists and offer them to the individuals, it actually allowed them to expose the individuals essentially to a broader range of content that they might not have otherwise even knew that they liked, or might not have found on their own. So again, that just enhances the overall user experience by offering something that the individual themselves has shown that they would value or like or have a preference for, and otherwise might not be able to access that or find it on their own. So a pretty cool example there, and some real tangible, real world use cases for everything that we've been talking about. Now, what does that mean when it comes to membership.io, and how can this platform increase and improve that member experience in the ways that we talked about, enhancing search and offering multiple media formats and all of those sort of things. So why membership.io? You can give your members the power of spotlight search, which is a new feature. Again, we're going to touch on that in just a minute when we get into, the nuts and bolts, the how to. But essentially, this allows members to instantly find exactly what they need with this advanced search functionality, and sort of spotlights, as it implies, the most relevant content or information based on what the individual is searching for, which allows them to reduce overwhelm, save them time, and just make the overall experience a lot simpler and more enjoyable for the user. Then we have creating tailored content paths for, a personalized learning experience. And this is something that we've talked about in the past. We've done an entire Creator Hacks live call in the past on personalization. And that is one of the key features of membership.io. This allows you to create sort of tailored content experience for the individuals, which again can help improve their overall engagement. It can help members consume content that suits either their preferences or their experience levels, because you're able to sort of segment your audience based on these individual characteristics or attributes, as they're actually called in the app. And all of this leads to increasing the accessibility and avoiding that, one size fits all frustration that so many members experience on so many platforms, right? There's a lot of bigger, platforms and things out there, and digital course platforms and that essentially treat every member or user the same, and they just sort of give them that one size fits all approach for content and all of that. And we know that that's not the case, that people have individual preferences and circumstances that require different formats of the content to be offered, as well as offering things like the personalized content experience and personalized content paths. Okay, so one of the ways that membership.io helps to address this and improve that is, every video is instantly searchable. As soon as it's uploaded, it's instantly searchable through keywords. It's got captions auto-generated as well as transcripts. And you can quickly and easily convert something like a video piece of content into a text or audio-based content, without really having to lift a finger. You just upload the content and all the work is kind of done for you. Okay. And then that again helps with streamlining content repurposing. When you get into our AI powered tools such as Copilot and Wisdom, again, we're gonna touch on exactly what these are if you might not be familiar with these. But essentially, these AI tools help to automate, transforming your video content into blogs, into social posts, into emails. All of these things that will help save you a lot of time and manual effort as the creator. And then this ultimately helps to boost overall member retention, improve their content completion rates, and reduce overwhelm by providing that personalized multimedia format, and making your content just more accessible and easier for the members to complete the content, to engage with the content, to be able to find the content that's most relevant to them and their preferences or experience levels, all of these things. So with that all being said, I know I've been talking your ear off for a minute. So if some of this stuff seemed a little bit sort of abstract, or you need to sort of see it to understand what it really means, that's what we're going to get into now with the lovely Paulina. She is going to take you into the deep end here of how to actually do all of these things with your content and how to do it the quickest and easiest way possible. So, Paulina, over to
Thanks,
you.
Tyler. I think you covered some of my very favorite examples. I think Spotify It has one of the best examples of kind of curation and discoverability. They recently rolled out that DJ feature as well, so constantly innovating. And I think it sets a high precedent for all of us to follow. But I think one thing that we'll see is there's a lot of things, as Tyler was mentioning, that membership.io does automatically. So these are very light lift things that you can do to make sure that you're capitalizing on the powerful search opportunities that are available. So as we can see, let's do this. Let's dive into all things implementation. So we can't talk about search without talking about the elephant in the room, which is we know a lot about search. We've been doing this thing called Searchy since 2019 up until August of 2024. This company was called Searchy, so you could say that we have a couple party tricks up our sleeves, as Tyler was mentioning, the automatic captions and transcript. Yes, they're fun, they're a good party trick, but they also go a long way in terms of content discoverability, accessibility, and as we've seen, a ton of really powerful stats to back up the content consumption and retention piece of that information as well. So your content is only as good as what people remember from it. So let's make sure that we give them the tools that they need in order to be able to actually consume what they need from the platform. As we've mentioned, there's a lot of things that happen automatically. So I'll cover primarily the things that take a couple extra steps or that you should really know about in the platform, but without you needing to do anything. Things like Zoom recordings automatically come into the platform automatically. I said that twice because it really does. That Zoom integration allows you to automatically get the transcript and the closed caption for that file. And we have a ton of prompts that are generated with that import as well. So we call this Copilot, and it's part of the things that we'll talk about. Copilot is essentially a writing assistant for your content. So as Tyler said at the very beginning of this presentation, we want to show you some tool tips for increasing search for your members. But there's also a lot of things that we can do for you as well when it comes to creating key takeaways, descriptions, copy, any kind of copy essentially that's needed for your files. Copilot, in a nutshell, is one of those. The Wisdom plugin is a second example. So if you have any content inside of your account, you can set up a Wisdom plugin in about 1 minute and 34 seconds. Yes, I timed it and I added it to a video. So we'll see what that process is click by click a little later on. We'll also talk about Hub Spotlight Search, which, as Tyler mentioned, is a really useful way for your members to comb through different types of file content that you have inside of your hub. It really helps when you're looking for something specific to be able to take your member to the exact place, not only in that video, but across different types of content to find what they need. And we'll take a look at a demo of a real life membership that uses the Hub Spotlight search and how it looks with actual content loaded in. Last but not least, audience progress tracking is really beneficial because we can talk a lot about what it means to provide your members with really powerful search, but at the end of the day, we still want to make sure we're actually tracking that and reporting on that. And we're really close to the metrics to be able to know how people are consuming your content. So in addition to setting up the tools for knowing how to give your members powerful search, you also want to make sure that you know how to track that, where to find that inside of your platform specifically. So those are the key things that I'll cover. We'll talk about what each thing is, what each feature is, and we'll show you where in the app you can set that up, along with a couple live examples of that specific feature in action. So you can search inside of individual files with Copilot. This searching inside of files means that you are able to create that copy based on what you need from that file. Good example of this is inside of Stu's membership. Stu, if anyone is familiar with Stu McLaren, he loves to talk. My goodness, that guy loves to talk. Says a lot of great things, which is why we need to categorize all of it. Searchy's kind of birth story is really funny because it came from a moment of frustration from Stu getting off of a Facebook Live and not wanting to answer the same questions over and over again. And out of that came the Searchy widget, which is our first ever feature. Since then, it's evolved many different ways. But part of the things that we've added is this ability for Copilot. So the hub, and on the right-hand side, we have a list of chapters. Those chapters are auto-generated. They are tweaked by our team just to make sure that they make sense. And it allows us to take something like a 3-hour, 17-minute video and break it down into far digestible chunks. This means that members can kind of skip to the things that they want to watch. It means that they can bypass anything that isn't essential for their learning at that specific moment. And it allows us to repurpose a file that maybe others would be intimidated by when they see that 3-hour session. And all of this makes a massive difference, as Tyler is saying, in terms of retention, because these files end up being the most consumed pieces of content inside of that membership. So it goes a long way. We have the stats to back it up that it really helps people in terms of making learning far more digestible for them. In terms of where to access it, so inside of your account, if you just click on any file, you'll see a description that's auto-generated. It says that it's auto-generated by AI, so it's a great starting off point. The chapters as well are AI generated. You can use that chapters menu just inside of that file manager. Specifically, you can make any changes as you need there. And if we head back to the file manager and just scroll to the bottom, you'll see that there is an actual Copilot menu that allows you to use any of the prompts that are currently there to get things like key takeaways, specific questions as well. Having a hard time zooming in here. There we go. But all of those things happen automatically without you needing to do anything special for that. Really handy as well, there's a little copy to clipboard button at the bottom. So once you have a generated response, you can click on that, share it in an email, add it to the description, use that copy as needed. So it allows us to abstract out the most essential pieces from that file without having to do any heavy lifting there. To make sure that we can make the most of that file specifically. So as we can see, Copilot, super easy to activate. It'll be activated in any of your files right now. So if you head to the library inside of your membership.io account, you'll see Copilot in those multiple places in the file manager as I covered. The next step of that is creating an AI chatbot to provide on-demand support. So where Copilot is inside of one specific teeny tiny file, let's say you want to search across multiple pieces of content, which makes sense. That's what search is primarily made for. What you can do is create your own custom GPT that's trained only on your content to provide on-demand support to your members. This is essential if you are solo entrepreneur and you don't have a support team helping you answer questions related to your content. You can lean on things like the AI chat to be able to give your members a way to get the answers that they need without any intervention from you specifically. So the old experience of doing this used to be that someone joins a course, they consume the content, they try to look for an answer, they don't find it, they reach out to the team. The team then needs to go and find that answer. And during this time, the student is waiting for the answer. And then the student gets the answer. So really not complicated process, but it takes a lot of time. And I don't know about you, but I need to be in the zone for learning. So when I'm on fire and I'm reading all those articles or getting through that book chapter, I want my answer today. I want it right now. So giving members our on-demand support through that AI chatbot is a really useful way to reduce this friction and create a new way of doing things where your members have access to a searchable library and basically a 24/7 version of you. It's only ever trained on your content, and it's a really, really wonderful way to repurpose any free content that you have inside of a paid program. So one of my favorite examples of this is Danielle Laporte's Heart-Centered membership. We talk about this quite often because this was a massive migration for their team and for ours. Danielle has hundreds of podcast episodes that fit in perfectly with her membership, but sometimes there's no easy way to share the answers in that podcast without boggling down the membership specifically. So they created an AI chatbot that they named the Heart-Centered Librarian. How cute. And they train this AI not only on all the content inside of the membership, but it's also used as a tool to repurpose the podcast episodes as well. So that if a student asks a question that isn't covered by the membership, that we're able to get that answer through the podcast if it covers it as well. A really nice way to encourage engagement with tools like this is also with suggested questions. So you can see here that her team is training her members to know what types of questions they can ask, right? They're all content related. They're not account and billing related because it's not that type of tool. But it allows our members to see the types of questions that we can ask and help members fast track to get any answers to really commonly asked questions. So if you have any content inside of your library, it's quite simple to set up a librarian of your own. You can do that inside of your account by clicking on apps specifically. Inside of your apps account, you'll see the Wisdom plugin. So you'll want to click on that. And then you'll want to create a plugin and add a name for it. If you're not committed to one just yet, don't worry. Just put a placeholder one. You can always rename it later. But in this space, we'll be able to create a plugin and then just click on it in order to head into a very bland and empty plugin for now. So obviously there's nothing connected here. So you'll want to go through the menu on the left-hand side. You can either add a custom selection of folders or all of your folders. Most people opt for custom. So you can see here, I'm just selecting 2 out of 6 folders. And what that means is that this AI chatbot is now trained on that specific content. You can add sitemap stuff as well if you'd like. And most importantly for me as well, sucker for good aesthetics. So I want to make sure to customize the colors here to make sure that the plugin evokes the type of feeling and branding consistency that makes it match well with my membership or course. So tons of options here for layouts in terms of full height or floating. You can choose the button icon as well. So I'm a really big fan of some of the flower ones that we have. So I'll select that for the plugin. You can change the typography as well. Big fan of Montserrat. So I'm going to select that for the font. And as you can see, as we make those changes, the plugin on the right-hand side comes alive with those changes automatically. The search placeholder is a really useful way to, again, drive engagement, give members opportunities to see what types of questions they should be asking. And if you want to, you can also play with the copy a little bit to make sure that your members know kind of how they should be using that chatbot. So some of these tools are only as useful as how you train your members to use them. So you can see here that I'm adding some copy to make sure that my members know what this is, how they can use it, and how I expect them to consume this specific tool. Now, of course, this is all completely optional, and the Wisdom plugin is only one of a couple different ways to search inside of a hub. So in addition to things like having that chatbot on the bottom of your hub, you can also opt for a hub spotlight search, which does a really similar thing to the AI chatbot. The primary difference being that we're not using text-based answers. We're just showing people the direct files that they can find it in. Last step here for creating this chatbot is adding default prompts. So sometimes people look at that and they have no idea what type of questions to ask. Kind of like when someone says, "What's your favorite musician?" and you blank and you forget every single album you've ever listened to in your life. That's why we add these default prompts. It gives us a way to give our members some context. And to me, this green is a little too light, so I'm going to swap it to black so it actually shows up well. So make sure that you're taking advantage of the fact that you can see it on the right-hand side to make any adjustments to that plugin so that, again, it matches your branding, you've connected the right folders, and it looks good and is ready for launch. So as you can see, not a very long process to get that set up. Highly recommend taking that extra few minutes just to set up a plugin and adding it to your course or membership site.
Paulina, I want to just jump in for a sec there, just to emphasize something with the Wisdom chatbot there. So, I think a lot of people think, when they think of like a chatbot or a GPT or whatever, Chat GPT comes to mind. And, you might be wondering, what's the difference between like the wisdom versus Chat GPT? Well, wisdom, as Paulina mentioned there, it's trained specifically on your content. You have control over, what it's learning from essentially, right? And because it's coming straight from your content, it's also going to reflect your voice, your tone, your style in the responses that it generates. So it is, as she mentioned, it's like having a digital version of you to be able to take all the content that you have across your entire library or whatever content that you've selected, and to be able to summarize answers for individuals in your own voice, and to be able to give your members an instant response. So it's super super powerful because that's typically one of the big things when it comes to AI and chatbots. People kind of bug out because they're like, oh, I don't want it to feel like they're talking to a robot and just get some generic response that's like, you know, one might improve by following these 3 steps. Step 1, do this. Step 2, it's very like, generic and boring, and it just feels really disconnected. And another issue with that too is something like ChatGPT, because it's pulling things from anywhere and everywhere it can. If you ask a question that, perhaps it doesn't quite fully know the answer, or it's not really provided in the content or in the context, ChatGPT will hallucinate, is what it's called, and just make something up out of thin air, essentially. So you could be getting a response that has no actual, valid bearing or truth to it. It's just something that it thought would be applicable to what you're asking. Whereas with wisdom, it's trained specifically on your content in your voice. So again, it's like creating another digital version of you to service and support your members 24/7 around the clock without, having to have that huge overhead of an additional support team and training them on your voice and tone and all of those things. So just wanted to point that out because I think that's one of the sort of things that comes to mind as soon as people hear, chatbot or AI. They sort of think of this like generic robotic, like cold experience. And by creating your own personalized chatbot, that's a way to overcome that and create a much more close and valuable experience for your members, where they feel like they're getting the answers that they need from you and from your content, without having to, as Paulina said, go that old route of trying to scrub through hundreds of videos themselves, can't find the answer, reaching out, emailing the team, waiting to hear a response back, and then finally, 3 days later, getting an answer to their question that they've already forgot about. So let's jump right back into it. We'll kick it back to Paul's. Just wanted to throw that in there.
No, and I'm really glad you did, Tyler, because I think um, AI is having a big moment right now, and I think that there is a lot of distrust. So I love that you cover that. Number one, it's trained just on your content. And something that's surprisingly effective as well is being transparent about the fact that it's an AI. I find that goes a long way because I think starting a chatbot, not knowing you're talking to an AI, sometimes people get the ick, honestly. Like they're not sure if it's a real person or not. So leading with the fact that it is artificial intelligence, I think has gone a really long way just in terms of setting the expectations there, knowing it won't be, exactly perfect like a human's answer is, but the fact that it is trained on your own content goes a long way just in terms of serving up reliable answers. So thank you. Also, you have a surprisingly good robotic voice. So I know you meant to use it as like it sounds so cold, but surprisingly it sounds really good. So
Thanks.
maybe
I'm
you should do
practicing.
voice modeling for robots. I feel like more people would use it.
Perfect.
Okay, let's dive back into Hub Spotlight Search. This one is 100% AI based. But that said, what's really fun about this is it doesn't take anything to activate. And if you have a hub inside of your account, then you already have Hub Spotlight Search activated. So this one allows us to specifically find posts, comments, members, and files, all the different types of content that you currently have inside of your hub. What's really great about this feature is that, again, it doesn't take anything to activate, and it allows your members to sort by different categories based on what specifically they're looking for. So inside of Tracy's Gather membership, she talks a lot about gentle discipline. It comes up in different files, transcripts, and posts specifically. So what I can do is either sort by those specific categories, or what I can do is click View All to be able to view not only the full view of that specific category, but all of them sorted by each specific content type. So it goes a long way just in terms of helping members figure out what specifically they're looking for. And then as it relates to quickly finding things, it means that because your members are spending less time finding exactly what they need, it means that they're spending more time consuming that content. Where possible, we want to limit the amount of time that people actually spend searching. I used to say this a lot when we did searchy calls as well, which is for a platform called Search. It's kind of funny because the main goal of it is to get people to spend less time searching specifically. So it's kind of like not anti-search because we're not boycotting search, but you want to do less searching and more consumption specifically. Last but not least, we can't have any of those three things without audience progress. We need to be able to track and give members the ability to see that, in this instance, that I'm 23% done in a file specifically, without giving our members, number one, visual cues in terms of how far along they are in the content, and number two, just having an eye on those metrics in the back end. It's really crucial because we can't walk the walk and talk the talk without being able to back it up with numbers specifically. So on the front end side, you want to give your members the ability to see how far along in a file they are, mark it as complete so they know they've finished it. This is essentially very useful if you're doing things like Q&A calls where some of the files may blur together. They may look really similar. It's really useful to know as a member which ones I have and haven't seen. And on the back end, can track all of that in the audiences tab specifically to measure, show me everybody who has started this file, or show me everyone that has completed this specific playlist so I can give them a badge for content consumption and to measure their retention. So you can measure not only the presence of those conditions, but also the absence to track consumption and lack of consumption. So it's a really simple toggle inside of your account. Inside of your hub editor, all you're really doing is just making sure that these two things are toggled on, as it gives us a way to see exactly what percentage of a file or of a playlist that have been consumed. So inside of your account, you'll want to click on the Customize button to open the hub editor. The hub editor is where we're going to make this change. Using the menu on the left-hand side, you're going to open Appearance. And just under Theme, under Appearance, you'll just want to make sure that Audience Activity and Audience Progress are both toggled on. Be sure to save your changes to make sure that saves. And then that allows us to actually see what part of a specific file has been consumed. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just grabbing the front end link and I'll paste it in this specific tab. So I can show you that from the front end. It tells me exactly where to resume the file. And then if there's a playlist specifically, as opposed to an individual file, it'll tell you what percentage of that playlist you've also consumed. So again, really, really simple toggle. Doesn't seem like it's going to make that big of a deal, but it gives you the ability to track all of that, and for your members as well. You want to make sure that both pieces of those puzzles are handled with that specifically. So with that, going back to kind of the intention setting that Tyler was setting at the beginning of this call, those things allow you to achieve that clarity. It gives you clarity in terms of less time that you're spending on the back end processes, managing transcripts, adding closed captions, making sure that members have the ability to download the audio and transcript file of every video that you offer, which is especially useful if you have a high ticket offer. It also allows us to give our members multiple different ways to search across individual files and multiple pieces of content, from chapters allowing us to take a 3 hour, 20-minute session to break it down into more digestible chunks, to wisdom allowing us to curate answers based on a culmination of different content. All of those things come together to encourage clarity and to boost that overall experience. So that's kind of it from us. One thing that we shared a lot about in this call that we need an hour to get through is curated learning path. So once you've checked all of those things, your next step and your next opportunity when it comes to powerful search, reducing the amount of time that your members are spending searching and increasing the amount of time that they're spending consuming, you'll want to activate personalized and curated learning paths. We have a full webinar all on the different ways that you can personalize content inside of your hub. It's a little bit of an advanced process only because it involves a couple moving parts, but no coding required, uses only the content you have, and it's super easy to activate if you have the Grow Plan up. So I'm going to bring on Tyler, who can tell us where people can watch our Personalizing Your Hub resource should they want to learn more about how to take their hub to the next level with powerful search.
Fantastic. Thank you, Paulina. And again, amazing job with walking through all of those incredible features that membership.io offers and explaining, how you can improve the overall member experience and even the experience for you as the creator with a lot of those features, making things easier for yourself and taking advantage of those automations thanks to AI. But as Paulina mentioned, we have done presentations already on how to personalize your content in much the same format as this. So you get, the benefits and why it should be done. And then we have the how to, the practical steps where we take you into the back end and walk you through how to set up, things like your audience segments, sorry, and to be able to tag your content and personalize your content for your individual members. And those can be found on the Facebook group. So the membership.io Facebook group, in the events tab, there will be all of our previous recordings there and our presentations. So you can check out the presentations there. And if for whatever reason you can't find it, or you want sort of like a direct link or something like that, just reach out to us at help@membership.io, and our support team will be glad to hook you up with the link to those trainings. In addition to that, we have, other trainings on there as well with these routine creator hacks that we've done here, these live presentations. We've done everything from, the onboarding process and setting that up, which can tie into providing this personalized experience, as well as things like gamification and, adding in things like rewards and achievements and things like that based on content consumption. So a lot of these trainings really tie together and can kind of walk you through all the steps if you're someone who's newer to setting up your membership, or perhaps you have sort of the foundation of your membership going, but you're wanting to, take things up to the next level, or just, start to enhance the overall experience for your members. We have several trainings on all of these different features. And, each month we are going to be continuing these creator hacks, introducing, things like new features that are coming to the platform, as well as the best ways to take advantage of the platform, and how you can improve the overall experience for both yourself as the creator and for your members. So with that being said, we're going to open the floor for a few minutes here. If you have some questions still that are lingering, that haven't been answered yet, or if there's something else throughout the presentation that you're wondering about, feel free to type it in the chat here and we'll do our best to answer it. And then after that, we'll wrap. And if you still have questions or things, again, you can always reach out to us at help@membership.io, and we'll be glad to help you out. So I did see Blueprint Leadership dropped a question in the chat earlier. So for any of those that may have joined a little bit later, but she had mentioned, do you mean video, text, and discussion when you say multiple learning modalities? So this was something that we talked about early in the presentation. So essentially it's offering your content in, video, audio, and or text-based formats. And we talked a little bit in the presentation about, the benefits that that provides when someone might want to consume text-based content versus video versus audio. They all provide their own sort of unique advantages, and ultimately by combining multiple formats, so perhaps you're listening to the audio while reading the text, that can actually enhance your overall retention, your learning, or as was mentioned by the HubSpot stat, people like to watch a video, but then when they're going back to review things or study them or find specific answers, it's nice to have that text to be able to kind of skim through or search and find, and to just be able to like review things with the text-based content as well. And as we pointed out, membership.io kind of takes care of all of that automatically, makes it super easy to make your content available in multiple different formats. So hopefully that helps answer that question there.
I can take the next two from Jennifer. So,
Perfect.
kind of circling back to that as well, don't underestimate the value of those modalities. I took my first test since literally graduating university years ago now, this year, where I had to do my Smart Serve to be a bartender. And I really leaned on the fact that there was transcript options available for all of the videos. And not to brag, but I got a 97 just going through that content once. And I think a lot has to do with the fact that I was reading while I was listening, while I was watching. It was a lot easier to kind of remember those things and get it. So yeah, really, really useful tool. I know Jennifer had some questions just about wisdom and the toggles. So I'll answer Jennifer's first question about wisdom, and then we'll pull the slides back up so I can repeat the toggle steps for audience progress specifically. But Jennifer says, can you list the toggle steps? So I'll do that one first. So inside of your account, what we can do is just pull up the hub editor specifically. So as you can see here, they're listed in the appearance tab. So I'll show you exactly how to get there. Inside of your account, open the hub editor by clicking on customize. From here, click on the appearance menu. It's that little paintbrush icon, and it's under theme specifically. So appearance, theme, and then you'll see the toggles just at the top there specifically. And then Jennifer also had a question just about wisdom specifically. So I can go back to the slides here. But wisdom is considered a custom chatbot. You can find it in the apps tab of your account. It's listed under wisdom, AI chatbot, wisdom, exact same thing. But this is what allows you to create that chatbot specifically. And then I think there is a question from Wrap Your Baby.
Yes.
So I'll pass it back to you, Tyler.
Perfect. Yes. So, as I mentioned earlier here, if you're in the Facebook group, I actually linked it in the chat there as well. But our previous trainings and live calls, such as this, can be found in our Facebook group under the events tab. We have several previous events and live calls that we've done going over things like creating the personalized learning paths, onboarding, gamifying your program, all of those great things, as well as other more specific individual features and things like that. So if you're ever wanting to find those, if you're in the Facebook group, just go check out the events tab there, and those will be there, as well as all the new creator hacks that we're doing here. It's only recently, I think the past 3 perhaps, that we have sort of co-streamed onto YouTube here as well. So if you go onto the YouTube page here under live videos, it'll be there as well for any of the more current and future presentations that we've streamed live here on YouTube as well. So hopefully that answers your question there. And again, if you have trouble finding any of those things or need additional assistance, just reach out to help@membership.io and we'll get you all taken care of. Awesome. Perfect. I think that is all the questions that I see right now, and we've hit the time for our call today. So I want to thank you all for tuning in today, and appreciate you, dropping in for a special sort of final creator hack of 2024. And we'll be back again in January in the new year with some very exciting new features that you might hear about in the next couple of days, and we'll be digging into exactly how to take advantage of those and apply those in your membership and your courses and all of those great things that you can host inside of membership.io. Thank you again, Paulina, for joining me. Absolutely crushed it today. Fantastic job walking through all of those steps. And yeah, I thank you all for tuning in. And if there's anything you wanted to add before we sign off, Pauls?
We have to say, Merry ho ho ho, happy
Yes.
holidays, wishing you a warm season with your family and friends, and looking
Happy New Year.
at all the things. Yeah, we'll see everyone in the new year. Take care.
Awesome. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.